our clients are talking a lot about XLAs, experience level agreements, versus SLAs.
Okay.
Are you seeing those rise naturally and organic in digital customer experience environments, and how do you deliver on them?
So I'll answer it indirectly because I don't. There are two types of metrics that tend to be extremely valuable. A number of really well-known metrics that are more of how long did it take for a user to log into our platform, for example, right? That that is an objective. Was it 1 second? Was it 100 seconds? Anything in between? That number translates to what a user experience, and obviously you want it fast. And there are also metrics that you can't really translate into direct user experience, but in their aggregate you can. So the act of logging into a large system might generate many different, let's say, service calls or database lookups or network calls, things that you can measure around and have metrics for. And so maybe one user action ends up being 1,000 data points. If you know the login metric, then you probably don't need those underlying 1,000. But for many other things, you don't have a well-known metric from beginning to end. And so then the ability to peel information from 1,000 data points for one user action is pretty important, because it allows you to be much more flexible in what you look for and do post hoc, so you look at data after it was collected and without having to prepare ahead of time. And so but you do end up with a ton of data, and that, especially with that 1,000 metric scenario, you have to have some automation around that for that to make any sense.
Is that something you guys in the digital experience group think about? How to craft XLAs?
It is, and what then really becomes exciting if you can measure those as near real time as possible, right? Because again, from a keeping the platform up point of view, we want to know if things turn for the worse. So there are a couple of those XLA type metrics we track, pretty close to real time, and aggregate and say, we're seeing some let's say users being unhappy or unsatisfied or less happy or less satisfied than before. Your goal is always to be ahead of your users, right? You never want to actually impact your users, but as a fallback, it is still good to have and say, oh, you know what, we got to look here because something is not right.
Excellent. And I love that fact that you keep emphasizing how important it is to do in real time, because the whole point is you can take reactive measures immediately to transition that user from a state of growing unhappiness to a state of delight, which you can't do if the information comes only after the fact. So thank you for that.
It has to be real time nowadays. If it's not real time, and you could wait, you could wait 5 or 10 seconds, but beyond that, you might, the information is just not as useful anymore, because without giving all the crown jewels away, the impact is measured in minutes and seconds, not in anything longer.
And also, I think that's an area where you could use AI and machine learning to good effect, because the profile of a happy user. It's, what is it, Tolstoy? Happy families are all alike. Sure. Unhappy families are all unhappy in their own special way, and you can use that information